Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Emem Archibong. I'm a singer-songwriter and I'm also a pharmacist. Please pardon the way that I'm dressed. I've just come back from an event. It's actually quite late at night and I'm working tomorrow, but I thought I'll just film this video quickly because I don't know when else I'll get a chance to film. So, well, the event went really well. I sang 2 songs and the presence of God was so strong in the place. And well, I came back and I thought, what a better time, and with how creatively I'm dressed, I thought what a good time to do a video on things you can do to prevent heart attacks and strokes. So this video, the title of this video is Things You Can Do to Prevent Heart Attacks and Stroke. I hope you find it useful. Before I go any further, I'd like to ask you to please like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with your family and friends if you find this content useful. Without any further ado, let's get right into the video. So heart attacks and strokes are quite similar in that they're both medical emergencies and the cause is very similar. So what causes a heart attack is a blockage to the blood supply to the heart, so a blockage in the blood vessels leading to the heart. And what causes a stroke is a blockage in the blood vessels leading to the brain. And hence, so a heart attack and a stroke are similar in that way. So what are the risk factors for a heart attack and a stroke? First of all, let me just define what risk factors means. So risk factors are any things, any conditions, or any issues at all that increases the risk of you having the disease in question. So in terms of heart attacks and strokes, whether it's genetic, whether it's environmental, what additional things can actually increase your risk of having a heart attack and a stroke. So I'm just going to go now into just listing all the risk factors for getting a heart attack and a stroke in later life and sometimes in early life. So the risk factors are high cholesterol, high blood pressure, diabetes, age, physical inactivity, being a smoker, obesity, stress, air pollution, family history, mental health. As you can tell from these risk factors that I've mentioned, you can tell that some of them can actually be alleviated by a lifestyle. So risk factors are usually divided into 2 types. One set of risk factors are usually things that you can do nothing about. So when you have the risk factor, it means that your risk is increased. And then the other type of risk factor are risk factors that can be amended. So if you have these risk factors, there are things you can do in terms of lifestyle and life choices that can actually help reduce the likelihood of these risk factors actually leading to heart attacks or strokes. For example, is smoking. So stopping smoking can actually reduce your risk of getting a heart attack or stroke. Another example is something like being obese. Losing weight can actually reduce your likelihood of getting a heart attack or a stroke. My whole aim on this channel in terms of sharing health promotion has been about prevention. While I'm a pharmacist and I believe in using medicines to help specific conditions, I really believe that prevention is the key. Prevention is the future. So I'm now going to list 9 things that you can do to actually to increase your likelihood of not getting a heart attack or a stroke in later life. So 9 things you can do to prevent a heart attack or a stroke. Number 1, eat a healthy, balanced, plant-based diet. This does not mean that you need to become a vegetarian. It just means that you need to increase your plant food intake. So eat your fruits, your vegetables, your grains, your seeds, and your nuts. That's really important. And even pulses like beans and lentils will really help because they have a lot of micronutrients and macronutrients that will help in terms of just giving your body everything that it needs. Another thing to do in terms of eating a healthy diet is to actually stop eating saturated fat. So saturated fats can be found, is actually like the fatty cuts of meat and even the skin of chicken. And also other saturated fats can be found in things like cakes, pastries, and things like that. And also try and reduce your processed food intake. So if anything comes in a packaging and has been man-made, you need to reduce eating that type of food as much as possible. Try and eat whole foods, so foods that you have to cook, or even if you're going to eat it raw, it needs to be like just a one type of food. So for example, nuts rather than like a Snicker bar, for example. So and also reduce your salt intake. That will also help in terms of the risk factor of high blood pressure. So it will reduce the likelihood of you getting high blood pressure, which can lead to a heart attack or a stroke. And also something else is to reduce your sugar intake. Again, sugar can increase your likelihood of getting diabetes. And if you reduce your sugar intake, you also reduce your risk of getting heart attacks and strokes, because diabetes can lead to a heart attack or a stroke. Number two thing you can do to prevent high blood pressure, to prevent heart attack or stroke, is increase your exercise. So increase the amount of exercise that you do. And I know exercise can scare some people. So when you hear the word exercise, it might bring up fears of school days when you were not picked for the team because you were not the sporty one. But the thing is, exercise is not just about going to the gym or being sporty. Any activity, there's something called NEATs, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And it's basically any activity that you do that causes your metabolism to actually go up. So things like walking, things like dancing, things like cycling, things like even tidying the house, mowing the lawn, things like that can all count towards exercise. So the main thing to remember with this point is just increase your activity levels. The government recommendation is 30 minutes of moderate activity for 5 days a week, or 75 minutes of vigorous activity per week. And the thing with this is it doesn't all have to be done at once. So you can do 10-minute bouts in one day. So 3 10-minute bouts, that's your 30 minutes in one day. I hope that helps. Number 3, watch your weight. Keep a healthy BMI or waist circumference. So BMI is basically an index that takes into account your weight and your height and gives you a number that represents how much weight you're carrying for your height, basically. But the thing is, BMI is not always accurate, so it's important to watch your BMI. For example, my BMI, like the value means that I'm overweight, but I know I'm not overweight. But because I work out a lot, I have a lot of muscle, and muscle is heavier than fat. So BMI is a good indication as to if you have a healthy weight or not. But don't just depend on BMI. Also measure your waist circumference. So measure the circumference of your weight. So people that BMI may not be accurate for include like the elderly, people that are quite frail, because it can actually make them seem like they're underweight when really they're not underweight. And then people that are like athletes or very muscular can also have a BMI that seems very high, as if they're obese or overweight, when in actuality it's their body composition that makes them seem like they're heavier than they are. Number 4, stop smoking, or at least try to reduce smoking and eventually stop. The thing with smoking is it is a risk factor for a lot of conditions. So for like lung cancer, it's a risk factor for diabetes, it's a risk factor for stroke, it's a risk factor for a lot of things. So actually stopping smoking could be the best thing you do in your life. If there's anything that I want you to take away from this video, it is this: if you're a smoker, try and make plans to reduce and eventually stop, because this will save your life, literally. Number 5, reduce your alcohol consumption. So the recommended amount in the UK is no more than 14 units a week. But what I need to stress is that 14 units should not be drank all at once in one day. So try and spread it out. So no more than 14 units in a week in total. And then number 6 is keep your blood pressure under control. Ways you can do this include reducing your salt intake, taking your blood pressure lowering medication, reducing your saturated fat intake, e.g. in red meat. So stop eating red meat or reduce your consumption of red meat, and also reduce your consumption of other processed foods. Number 7, treat your diabetes. Because diabetes is a risk factor for heart attacks and strokes later on down the line, it's important to take your blood sugar lowering medication. It's also important to reduce your sugar intake. In fact, it's important to reduce your refined carbohydrate intake. So that means no more or very little white rice, no more or very little white pasta, no more or very little white bread, no more or very little white flour. So, also try and reduce your processed foods intake. So reduce your eating cakes, reduce eating things like pastries, reduce things like eating biscuits, and also just a little bit about like diabetes products. So products that claim to help with diabetes, generally it's not a good idea to go for products that contain a lot of sweeteners either, because there's still research going on as to the safety of sweeteners. So it's a matter of actually reconfigure. So it's a matter of reconfiguring your taste buds to enjoy savory rather than sweet all the time. Okay. 8, take your prescribed medicines. So take medicines that the doctor is giving you to treat things like high cholesterol, things like diabetes, things like hypertension. So if you take your medicines, you actually reduce your risk of getting a heart attack and a stroke down the line. And then number 9, the final point, is to know your risk. So that means go for testing. What I do is every year I go to the doctor and get a full blood check. So they check for cholesterol, they check for diabetes, for high blood sugar, they check my blood pressure, they check my weight. So I'd advise, if you can, to get a full checkup regularly, just to check that you do not have anything you don't know about, so like things like cholesterol or high blood sugar. Anyway, I hope you found this video useful. Please, again, pardon the look. It's my performance look. Pardon the look, but I hope this video has proves useful to you. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Emem the Singing Pharmacist signing out. God bless. Take care. Bye.